Hello everybody and welcome to this music production vlog I decided to make. I have a few points to talk about. Keeping this video kind of raw-ish, whatever, minimum editing because, just a wall. So I just want to describe like my music production creation process a little bit and what I've learned so far and just this short, brief like burst of time that I've like really got sucked into it. So the things I want to talk about, as you can see probably in the title, is FL Studio. I've been learning to use that. Then I also want to talk about music feedback and constructive criticism, all that kind of sweet jazz. And then the last thing I want to do is talk about music theory, which I'll go into depth when I go into it. Wow. So first off, let's start with FL Studio. So with FL Studio, I really got sucked into music making and music production like a lot. A little bit too much for my own good, but I think it's definitely great to have those moments where you just like get really sucked in and that's like all you could really think about for the next few days or couple of days. And that's what happened to me. It's definitely not good all the time because if you're addicted to this or that, like music production or video games or anything really, then you just forget about all your other life responsibilities and stuff. But it's definitely great in short bursts to really get your like the next step pushed forward. So I think that's really cool. I made 3 songs in 4 days, and I made the Streetlight Dreams song a little bit later, like 2 days later, 3 days. I don't really remember, but yeah, I got really sucked into making the music. And it just makes me really happy. Like, I haven't got this sucked into anything for like a while. The last one I had was I was playing a video game, and I rarely get sucked into video games that much, but it was Katana Zero, very good game, check it out. And then before then, it was one of them at least, was animation I was working on, like a pixel animation. It was with, it's a D&D story, like a Dungeons and Dragons story of just what just happened, and it was kind of like a sketch video. So yeah, it was really interesting. Like once I get sucked into it, it gets me sucked in for a few days, and that's all I can really think about and work on it. It's really fun. Before I was using FL Studio, I was using Chord Gadget, which you could definitely see in like a lot of my other videos. I've been using it almost a year now, which is pretty crazy to think about, like how quick that kind of felt when just looking at music. Just a lot of like experimenting with different songs and melodies, harmonies, blah 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 blah. I also used analog synths to do it DAW-less without any computer, which was also interesting. But I noticed with FL Studio I really got sucked into it more because now it feels a little bit more professional. It feels a little bit more professional, and I really like using Chord Gadget because it was this sort of like you just draw your notes in, and I really like that because sometimes I don't always want to do it live, like at the moment, like oh I have to press every single beat, even though it loops like a lot of these are loops, it just repeats and repeats, but you still have to do that live in the very beginning, which brings a lot of stress on me, and sometimes I just want to focus on making only the music and not really worry about performing. So Fruity Loops, which is just what FL stands for, Fruity Loops Studio has really helped me for that. I mean, I still have a ton to learn, for sure. There's just a lot of techniques I've yet to learn, like the most advanced I probably went into it, besides just making notes and stuff, is like fading and fade out, which you might hear in like a few of the songs. But that's about it. I am getting really more sucked into this, so I got a little bit more gear that was kind of really essential. So one of them was definitely these headphones, and these are Audio Technica headphones. They're literally like 50 bucks, but these are studio headphones, which are very important for music production because you just hear the clear, plain sound of everything, like the most accurate version of what the song actually sounds like without upping the bass or the treble or the middle, whatever, you know? These are only $50, which to some people might be a lot, but to many other people it's just barely anything for like audiophiles, because there's like $300 headphones, 500, 1,000, and so on, and they're even much better. But These are great for me in the very beginning. I think I'll be holding on these for a long while and be using them for a long while. Next thing is actually audio interface, which is also very essential because I have analog synths that I also want to record into the computer. And I can't really, I mean, well, you could record it with what I'm recording right now as like an audio recorder. It's great, it's great for videos like this, but with music you want like the clearest sound of the musical notes and blah 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 blah. So you definitely need to have the sort of clearest form, and this is the audio interface, which you just plug your analog synth in and you plug that into the computer and boom, you got a very clear sound. It's like a sound card in a computer. It's a little bit more, how do you say it, like a little bit more portable, because you, like, let's say you put a sound card sound card into one computer, then you got to pull it out, and there's also some flaws I looked into, and I was like, oh, whatever, I just got an audio interface, and this is definitely what I needed, because it's got all these knobs, and they're very smooth, and ooh, I like them. But yeah, there's a lot more features designed specifically for musicians. And the last thing I want to talk about FL Studio, I know I've been talking a lot, I'm sorry, I just blabber on a lot, but this is why I'm making this video. Not everyone's gonna watch it, but hey, I'm doing it for me, because I really enjoyed just sort of talking about and sort of reflecting on the music I've been making. And the last thing I want to talk about FL Studio is simply that I made some mistakes in like creating the music, but that actually helps make the music a bit. So there's some drum mistakes I made. So the pattern's like do, 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 and then it like skips a beat and stuff because I accidentally copy and pasted it wrong. So it's like do, 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 do. So it's just a crazy example, but it's just like those little mistakes, like, because FL Studio is a little bit more fluid, and you got more room to explore, we get more options to work than Chord Gadget, because Chord Gadget I've been using it for like I said, about a year, and it's like a $30 production making thing on the Switch, which is very limiting. It's a game console, so like it's not really designed for music production. A computer definitely is much more suited for that. So the next topic I want to talk about is feedback on music. So it seems like some people like my music, which is great, because actually when I made my first song, Chirping Past Time, I sent it to my friend, like, oh, no, what do you think about it? I just made it because I have a new program and blah blah blah, FL Studio. He said that it was actually really good and he liked it. I'm like, what? No, it's not that good. Because I mean, I thought the risers were like very generic because I just used Fruit Loops risers just from their presets, I guess, or whatever. Everything else was my creation, I guess, in terms of like the synthesis of making the sound and the notes, I guess, yeah, but the risers kind of annoyed me. It's just kind of a simple song. I didn't think too much of it. I was proud of it, but I was like, this can't be that good. And it, for sure, it isn't. Because, yeah, he might like the music, but I guess to more trained musicians, they're gonna be like, it's just okay. It's just blah. But that friend has really drove me this positive feedback to just create the other songs I've made, like the other 3 songs. I was like, whoa, I'm so excited. And that's what actually kind of sucked into it, which I'm really happy for. He's a really great friend, my best friend, basically. He's a really great guy. So I'm glad that I have at least him to listen to some of my music, at least. So I'm really glad for that. And this is like, I just saw this comment today, and it's like one of my older songs. I don't really like it too much. There was one dislike, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with you, whoever made that dislike. Lost in the Dust, it was like a Soviet, like Afghan war song, but the music, like, as a musical piece, it didn't really work out well at all, but as more of an experimental audio art piece, it's not bad. And I actually got a comment that I just saw today that, oh, very, interesting, and I'm like, really? I mean, I guess that's great, but like as a music, I feel like it doesn't really work out. But that's really happy. That kind of boosts a little bit of the positive feedback. Same thing as looking at my Stola video, which in Polish it means 100 years. It's like a birthday song in Poland. And I played on the accordion. Now I have 40,000 views? What? Like, how the fuck? Like, that's basically the majority of my views of the entire channel. Is just that one video. But I'm proud of it. I mean, I made a couple mistakes in that, but people apparently still like it, so I guess that's good for positivity feedback. But what about constructive criticism? Because this is what I kind of want a little bit more. A dislike is not really going to tell me, like, it just tells me if you didn't like it or you liked it, but it doesn't tell me what you didn't like about it. So that's when I went on Craigslist and I was just looking up like other musicians that played the synthesizers and blah blah blah, music production, and I found one in Chicago, and I just emailed him, and he listened to actually some of my songs. I'm like, really? Like, you actually listened to all these new songs I made, which I'm really excited. And he says it's good. There's a lot of room for improvement, which I definitely agree. But the great thing is that I actually got some feedback, like criticism, because he's like a lot more experienced. He plays the guitar, the bass, he sings, he got all these other gear, and it's great. He said the most important thing is probably learning music theory, and chord progressions need to be worked on. And I definitely agree with that, because I always struggle with chords. I usually just do pairs or just one note, because 3 notes, I'm like, I'm not, let's worry about that later. Let's just make the song. But it is important, so I'm definitely going to be focusing more on chords, which is just 3 notes played at once. It's like ding, 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 or whatever it might be. And the very last topic I want to talk about is music theory, which I kind of like alluded to in the last bit of the last topic. But yeah, I got this book from Amazon, and it's actually a really useful book, because it's got all these music theory notes, because I don't know really any music theory. That is, well, the first chapter I learned a lot about tone, harmonics, like the very, very basics of noise and music and notes, which is really handy for me. The later chapters, I read up to chapter 7, and I found out that, like, wait a minute, actually I kind of already know this stuff, it's just I didn't knew I knew this stuff. It's just now I know the actual names, the actual notes, the actual what they're used for, and triads and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, so it makes a little bit more sense. It brings a little bit more context. Like, I kind of already had rhythm and tempo down, but I didn't know them properly in the academic sense. And now I'm right at chords, and I haven't read it yet, because I literally just got this yesterday. But I read, like, up to 87 pages. I skimmed through the parts I kind of knew, and I focused on the parts that I really didn't know. So, for example, like 16 note, 32 note. I mean, well, I kind of know it splits, but I didn't know exactly how they look and how exactly that works in a DAW, like Fruit Loops Studio. So yeah, it's really great. And the very last thing I want to talk about is possible singing. If you've follow my channel for a while now, or at least look back on my older videos, I actually tried singing in some of the videos. They sound horrible. Although I'm really scared to look at one video, I think it's like Stalingrad video, where I was trying to sing, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to look at it, because now it has 400 views. I'm like, no, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know what people think about it. I could make it private, but I also want to kind of show it, just to show people it's a progress to be, doing anything creatively. There's always a progress. It's gonna be bad in the beginning, but then it's gonna move up forward. So that's why I kind of have it around still, at least for now. But yeah, I'm trying to see if I could sing. Definitely gonna be focusing on like practicing the very, very basics of singing. And you probably won't hear me actually sing in these production musics songs for a while, because it's just it's hard to sing. You have to have the right pitch and everything. Like, you gotta hit those notes, and it's a progress too. But at least until I'm like kind of decent, then I'll start singing in my songs, if at all. So we'll see. It's all part of a creative process. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. Hopefully you enjoyed this long ramble of my process and what I learned, and I guess in the very end I'll just like to say thank you for everyone who has been listening to my music, because it's really great. Because I think with any creative, like, you go up these like peaks of like, oh, this is great, everyone's gonna love it, and then you go down and realize like, wait a minute, no one likes my work. But that's like the two extremes. Like, it's good to get like a little balance of a realistic approach of how people and how you think of your music. So trying to get that balance, but it's always like this, you can never get it 100%. But yeah, see ya, till later.